Would you all stand and say the pledge of allegiance with us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, if anybody wants to make a public comment, we have sheets over here that you sign up with. You can read them. We allow about 30 minutes for anybody who wants to speak. Each of you get about 30 minutes and just sign up. Okay. Next up is our consent agenda. Everybody's read that over.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Next up is introduce new hires to the board. Tom?
We have Kyle Jorgensen, he's new to the roads department, he's working out of the central shop right now. Plow truck driver, and he's on the Culver crew.
Today your first day?
Yes, sir, that was.
Okay. Haven't had to plow overnight yet, huh?
He missed the last snow.
Tom, what did you say his first name was?
Kyle,
Kyle. Oh, Kyle, so does that make 3 or 4 Kyles now?
3 on that crew.
Wait.
Culver crew is 3 Kyles. Easy for me to remember.
Just holler Kyle.
They just pop their head up.
Good deal. Thanks for coming in.
You bet. Thank
Tom,
you.
thanks for bringing him in.
Welcome to the county.
You spell your name S-E-N or S-O-N?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is you related?
I've got so many relatives around, I have no idea.
Okay, next up, Paula Hazelwood, Director, Shalimar Mercedes, Rural Economic Development Manager, and Connor Mowry, Entrepreneurship Manager, Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation. Update on Southwest Iowa progress this year.
Yes, good morning. It's funny because we were just talking about pronouncing Shalimar's name properly, so.
It's all good. Doesn't matter.
It's funny. Well, thank you for allowing us to be here today to give our 2025 end of year activity update to the Board of Supervisors. I always like to start all of my presentations with kind of our elevator speech just for historical purposes. I know most of you know our history, but I always like for the audience also to know. So Advance was founded in 2013. I've had the privilege of leading the organization since 2016. During that time, Advance has evolved significantly from just a single person, single focus, one person operation, centered solely on new to market projects to a full service economic development organization with 4 dedicated employees. 2 of those are sitting on each side of me. Today, Advance serves all communities across Potawatomi County with a comprehensive approach that includes not only new to market attraction, but also existing business expansion and retention, entrepreneurial and small business development, site identification and readiness, and most importantly, really intentional trust-based relationship building. So the Advance team, as you know, I say this to you each and every time we're in front of you, we cannot do what we do without the support of the County Board of Supervisors in Potawatomi County. Our 3 biggest investors that we have are the county, the city, and the Iowa West Foundation. And then we also have 25 private investors that support our cause as well. So I just want to give you some highlights from 2025. And the projects that I talk about are specifically Council Bluffs related. Shalimar is going to update you on the rural projects. So consistently in 2025, between our urban, rural, and entrepreneurial projects, we maintained an average of about 40 active projects in our pipeline. And this information is ending November 30th. We'll provide you the end of December, end of year report. Basically, we send that via email to all of our investors. So you will get that probably the 1st to 2nd week of January. Currently, as of November 30th, we have 45 active projects in the pipeline. And when I say active, that means that the advanced team, one of our staff members are actually working with the client or the prospect to do something that helps move that project forward. So we don't report on anything else. We don't report on projects that we don't work on, is basically the gist of it. We have made numerous referrals to our partner organizations, which include Small Business Development Center, Nebraska Enterprise Fund, Iowa Western Community College, local lending institutions, our local brokerage community. We presented at over 25 community meetings. We've coordinated and hosted at least 8 community events, training opportunities. And we have conducted 290 business meetings, which is a tall task to take for really just the 3 of us sitting here conduct those type of business meetings. Our 4th partner does, but more so specific to Kitchen Council, which is next on my list to talk about. So Jason Shearjet, who runs Kitchen Council now, he has engaged with 72 food entrepreneurs and onboarded 1 new member this year. We currently have 13 members, but most importantly, we're going to be implementing a new Kitchen Council 2.0 strategy effective January 1st. The 2.0 plan was intentionally structured to more closely reflect the realities of owning and operating a business. It emphasizes regular and disciplined reviews of operating plans and financial performance. In addition, the model includes an increase in membership dues and the establishment of defined tenure limits to ensure that the members are accountable and the program sustainable, and they have the appropriate progression they need with the programming. We also successfully raised $20,000 in prize funding for the Rev Pitch competition. This year marked the 5th consecutive year that Advance has partnered with TS Bank to bring the Rev program to the region. The event was held at Pace on November 6th, and it generated really strong interest, not only in attendance, but we had 45 applications submitted. We had 5 available pitching slots. So the total of $20,000 in prize money was awarded to 3 different businesses. It can be awarded to 1, but this year the independent judges chose to award it to 3 different businesses. So 10,000 of that went to Southern Hills Veterinarian Services, 5,000 to Coffee Alley, and 5,000 to Jarvis Meats. In addition, we had a $500 People's Choice Award, which was presented to Delise Delpan. They are a Kitchen Council member. And the Entrepreneur of the Year was awarded to Alejandra Valdez, who owns Viva Fit Kitchen and also runs the Embolden Network. So really good event. Connor jumped in about a month after he started with us, which I'll tell you about that here in a second. So we had 2 staff transitions. Holly Benson used to be the manager for Kitchen Council. She resigned to spend more time with her family in April. And Jason, who was with us at that time as a part-time employee at Kitchen Council, was promoted into the manager position, and he's doing just a fabulous job. And then Connor, we hired Connor in October, right before Pace, to fill Nikki's spot. Nikki had to resign due to a family situation. She needed to be closer to home. She's from Blair, Nebraska, so she needed to be closer to her kiddos. But Connor jumped in, and I keep telling him he's been drinking from a fire hose for a couple months, which he has been, but he's just doing a fabulous job. So this is Connor Mowry. If you haven't met him, you will see him out and about. He is our new advanced social butterfly. And so he will be out in the community attending numerous events and working our entrepreneurial ecosystem. So what all of that means is that, again, we definitely do not work on every single economic development project in Council Bluffs or the county. That would be virtually impossible. We would need about 4 times the staff members sitting up here to do that. We only report on data that we have something to do with. So those are the numbers that obviously myself and Shalimar will be sharing with you today. So in 2025, it's been a little weird. We've worked the same number of projects, but the ones that are active are much larger projects. But we've landed less projects this year. So we've landed 10 projects this year, which is by industry standard, really good. They were both a mix of new to market and expansion projects that created or retained 158 new or full-time equivalent employees. And normally I would be able to share with you, I've always been able to share with you the capital investment that goes along with each of the projects that I'm going to talk about. But because of one of the projects we landed, we're under a non-disclosure agreement, And if I tell you what those are, you'll be able to back into what their number is. So I'm not allowed to share that. So I'm going to give you some aggregated data so you can kind of understand the scope of it. So just for comparison, you all know we're part of the Greater Omaha Economic Development Partnership, which is an 8-county ED group, that 2 counties in Iowa, 6 in Nebraska. So I pulled their landed list the day before yesterday, and keep in mind that some of the partners may not have all of their information updated as we do, but this is what it showed as of when I pulled the report. Our 10 landed projects, the total 8 counties have landed 21 projects. So 10 of those are ours. So that's about 48%. Of the capital investment, which again, I'm sorry, I can't give you that number. It's in the billions though, I will tell you, and advances component of that is 97.5% of that capital investment. So that is substantial. It's one of the biggest projects that I think we've ever landed in Pottawatomie County, Council Bluffs, and certainly one of the biggest in my career. So job retention, our 158 account for 39.6% of the job creation that's currently listed in the comparison report. So I always like to give that because I think it's a good indication of the work that this team does for the county on a daily basis. And, it just kind of gives you that extra perspective into it. So the projects that I'm going to talk about are, again, specific to Council Bluffs. K&M Tires, they are a tire warehouse distribution facility. They actually relocated from Carter Lake to Council Bluffs due to some land restrictions that they had. So they built a new facility off of Gifford Road in South Point Business Park, and they have 25 full-time equivalent employees. Project Tallgrass is a joint venture that we've been working on. They're a CO2 pipeline project that we're still actually working with them on. They will be constructing a new facility adjacent to the SIRE facility, Southwest Iowa Renewable Energy Facility, and they will have 60 full-time employees when they're up and fully operational. Project Edge is the big data center project that I've been working with. Originally, the original owner or the original person that owned the property, and then as it transitioned into the end user, which is Project Edge. 90-acre parcel east of Iowa Western Community College. They are currently under construction. If you haven't driven by that area lately, you need to take a trip by there and see the work that's going on there. With that, there were some infrastructure improvements that needed to happen. They do have an existing developers agreement with the city, and they do have a minimum assessment of $200 million, and that's all public record. Obviously, their capital investment was much larger than that. McClure Engineering is a small engineering office that is completed construction now on the first floor of the River's Edge building. They actually have 6 full-time engineers and employees that work out of that office. And then Hillcrest, it's a health service company. They were looking for a new healthcare facility, and they actually ended up being able to partner with Trivium in the River's Edge building on the 2nd floor to occupy some of their space. And they have 15 full-time equivalent employees. And then one that Nikki Ferguson worked on before she left, Accurate Accounting, purchased a building on Madison Avenue at 1722 Madison, and remodeled that building into her new accounting offices. And if you haven't driven by it, I drove by the other day and it looks really nice. So those are the projects that I wanted to talk about for Council Bluffs. But then moving into 2026, again, we still have 45 active projects in the pipeline. And the ones that I'm mostly working on center around technology, manufacturing, and recreation, quality of life project. We'll continue to work those moving forward, hopefully bringing them to reality. And we'll obviously continue to market and promote Pottawatomie County and to build our entrepreneurial ecosystem. So just kind of in closing, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, I want to thank all of the Board of Supervisors for your ongoing support. I know you've had a kind of a crazy busy year, so hopefully things are winding down a little bit for you as we head into the holidays. I want to thank Chairman Shea and Supervisor Miller for your ongoing support on our Board of Directors. We appreciate that. And then also, your staff. You guys have a great group of staff members. Matt Wine is wonderful to work with. Mitch, thank you so much for everything you do to help us, and numerous others. So, we really appreciate it, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Something?
I'll start.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you ready?
Of course.
Okay.
Always ready for you, Supervisor Whitman.
There was a report on social media that the beef plant's gonna break ground next year. Is that accurate?
You know what? I actually got a phone call when I was driving here letting me know that that was reported on KMA this morning. And quite honestly, as far as I knew yesterday, that is not accurate. So I do not know where that information is coming from, but when I leave here today, I will be making a phone call because we have other interest in that parcel of ground and that project is actually moving forward. So,
Okay.
I don't know. They've done a lot of media coverage over the last 6 years and obviously nothing has materialized. Not saying it's not gonna, crazier things have happened, but as far as I knew yesterday, close of business, that was not accurate.
Okay, did the annexation get completed?
Yes, sir, it did.
So that that's property is now in the city limits of Council Bluffs?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is that project that the ground was annexed for still in the works?
It is. So, we were very lucky. Project Farah was a project that we worked on extensively for 3 years. And due to circumstances out of our control, it was completely on the project's end. They backed out at the last minute. But thankfully, with that property, we did annex that in, and it's 192 or 120 acres, 119 acres. The individuals that own that, and I've never met them personally, I've only worked with their broker. Advance has that property under option. And the people that own it live in Red Oak and they're very pro-development for Potawatomi and Mills County. And so what they did very kindly, they extended that option for us for another 18 months without having us put any money down. So they pretty much just said, you guys have control of it, you market it, you do what you need to do. So we have a marketing plan that we're putting together for January to a very select group of businesses and site selection groups. So that'll go out too.
There is a building being put up just west of Armstrong, is on the city side of,
I believe that's Buck Morris. I believe that's the Morrises.
that's in the city limits of Council Bluffs.
Yeah, it's right. That's a weird area, Matt, right there. Like one side is county, one side is city. I think it's Buck Morris.
It is Buck Morris.
Yeah.
Okay. Paula, you talk a lot and, I really do appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
You talk about bringing businesses in. Have we had any exit from businesses that you brought in? How about on the rural side?
Any
exit-
closures or like mass layoffs is what you're talking about?
Yeah, or closures or,
We haven't had any closures. We've had a layoff that happened with one of the companies that we did an expansion project with. But that was on the company.
there was a, I want to say it was a coffee shop, breakfast, lunch
Destination in
in
Oakland.
Oakland.
Yeah.
Now that closed, right?
It did, yes. And it is now transitioned into a Latino supermarket.
So
Into
those
what?
are the kind of things I was more
Oh,
concerned about.
Latino.
I'm sorry, you're talking
Supermarket.
about little businesses. I was,
Oh,
usually when I think I think the bigger, large employers type thing.
I don't know if you keep a list of those or,
We don't keep a list of businesses that have exited or closed. Honestly, within the retail and the entrepreneurial food space, it's pretty fervent that they open, they close, they open somewhere else, they close. If that's something you would like us to track, I'd be happy to do that.
Council Bluffs hasn't had any major since Griffin Pipe. And that was in 2013, I think, was the last large. Not to say we haven't had a couple of the smaller businesses come and go, just as Shalimar said, in the rural, but large, and we have to be notified, not us, but the city and the county get notified if it's a large employee, by the state.
If it's more than 10% of their workforce, they have to do a warn notice.
A warn
to the
notice.
state, the IWD.
Like, have all of you been following the Lexington closure of the Tyson plant?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that was a similar situation when Griffin closed, the same notification processes and such, yeah.
But we have, if you would like us to track that moving forward, we certainly can.
No, I don't think I'm asking you for extra work. I didn't know if you tracked those or not. I mean, it would be kind of nice to know, but it's not a mandatory thing for people.
Well, and we typically know, and if we do find out that they're planning, like the Oakland, the coffee shop, Shalimar worked with them to try to find another buyer that could take on the same operation because it was very well received in Oakland.
Yeah, we had about 6 different people that were right on the cusp, but either couldn't get the financial backing or couldn't qualify for loans. Or the other thing is coffee shops take about 300 cups of coffee just a day in order to
Turn
be
a
in the
profit,
black.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, it just didn't turn enough profit for a bank to say this is a viable business for us to invest somebody in. So.
I don't have,
Susan?
So with the large company that you have the NDA in place with, I was confused. Has that one been landed or is that one
Yes.
still in the pipeline?
No, it's been landed. They're under construction. So that's the site next to Iowa Western Community College.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're still working with them because, well, I mean, once we land them, doesn't mean we stop working with them. The work continues, but we actually are able to land it. And Mayor Walsh and I actually got to participate in a private groundbreaking ceremony with their management team before in pouring rain and muddy conditions, but it was fine. And then they're going to have something for the community. So they have 3 different things that they do along their journey. So the next segment is when I refer to it as kind of a barn raising. So when their walls start going vertical, then they'll have another celebration and the community will all be invited.
And at that point, certain things loosen up of what we can talk about.
Yeah. I mean, it's out there. Their name is out there. I'm just still under an NDA, so I don't speak their name.
I didn't know if
Yeah.
there was a separate one that was as significant as that.
Yes.
2 big ones
Of
or
the
just
ones in the
one?
pipeline that I'm working on, we have 5 others and 3 of those are of at least that same size. So.
Well, I'm anxious to hear Shalimar's report.
What's going on as far as talk about attracting businesses to the area? I always look at Ankeny as something, a place that we ought to, replicate. And how they've gotten to grow over the years is by locating company headquarters. Tony's Slicers, I believe, is one. I think Casey's is located another one there. Are there any possibilities of locating something along those lines in Potawatomi County Council Bluffs?
I wouldn't say it's not a possibility, but because of our proximity to Omaha, the majority of the headquarters are looking kind of in that downtown area in Omaha. And I'm hoping that, if the Rivers Front continues to develop in a certain way that, that would be more of a probable way for us to get some of those headquarter companies. But right now, I mean, in full transparency, the majority of them, we've had some look. And because we are partnered with the Omaha Chamber, I mean, when we have a prospect that doesn't specifically say, I want to be located in downtown Omaha, then we always throw the Rivers Edge in area down there as well. They're not going to locate off West Broadway. They're not, I mean, they want visibility. They want, their name at the top of a big building. So on a highway, yeah.
I mean, I can't help but think there are areas in the country looking to relocate them. And to tell you the truth, ConAgra ought to come back here and leave Chicago. That's my opinion. Chicago's such a disaster these days. And that's just one example that I look at. But, I'm just thinking out loud and like, we need to grow.
Well, we are growing. We have to grow sustainably and practically. So, but I won't say Supervisor Jorgensen that is out of the question. It's just not, an industry vertical that we work a lot on headquarter projects.
Right. Oh, did you say one of our bigger companies was laying off?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no,
Then I miss her.
no.
There was one, almost a year, 18 months ago.
Okay, when
They
we
did a
help
tiny
them,
layoff though, it
in
wasn't.
our agreement, do we have a certain amount of time they have to guarantee those jobs?
Yes, if they have incentives, yeah.
I-
And if
I
they,
knew
if
that.
they, lay off and they, are within that window, they have to pay. So if they've received incentives, they've got to pay them back to the state.
What does Council Bluffs or Potawatomi County have that would draw businesses? I mean, we're a transportation hub.
That's typically I mean, that's I would say number one. And our quality of life is really good here, our proximity to a lot of various amenities. But I would say the I-80, I-29 hub
Okay,
are-
and the railroads.
and the railroads, yeah. And we have exceptional fiber here.
And-
Exceptional.
And power. We have
And
power
power.
where a lot of other places in the country don't
Seems
have
like a
power.
win-win situation, in my opinion, so. Thank
Which
you.
is, I think, the reason that we have 47% of the projects in the entire Omaha metro. So the entire Omaha metro is 1.1 million now,
Yeah.
roughly. And out of all of those people and communities and things, we are 47% of the landed projects for the Omaha metro area. Which is, I think, speaks to the fact that we are doing some pretty impressive things.
And we have, like you said, we have very good infrastructure in place here and we're responsive. So
All right, thank you very much.
makes a difference. You're welcome. Thank you for
Thank
the
you for what you guys
question.
do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
You up?
Hi, everybody. So as far as rule goes, I'll cover the projects that I was able to land this year. And again, as Paula said, we try to keep them a little more surface level with project names and just to keep everybody's, business out of everything. I was able to land a manufacturing project early in the year, actually in Minden, which was a cool bringing them back home. They ended up expanding after the tornado. So love to see that happen. That project was $2.6 million. So I was really excited. And that's the only one I'll share, but we were excited to see that. They did get state incentives. It was a great project to work on, really amazing people, and that business industry has been in this area for a very long time. And so we're happy to keep them here, happy and healthy and thriving. I was able to land a small bakery, which has been up and running now. And that project I've been working on for 3.5 years. So it was a very long project for me. I actually, back in 2020, when they weren't able to find an electrical box to continue with their, the build out of their brick and mortar space, I actually was the one that was able to help them find that down in Missouri. I spent half a day calling different electricians, trying to find this electrical box that had a 52-week lead time. So that was a great, just personal win. Really excited to see them landed. Another one is a smaller mid-sized retail and feed store that's in Oakland, Project Pause. Really excited to see that project land. They have great ideas of how to expand. They're doing some amazing things on social media and really inviting the Riverside community in with their pets and animals in order for everyone to, it's just a great community feel piece. Another project we were able to actually relocate, it's a new to market for us, from Harlan into Minden, into a new building that went up after the tornadoes. So really excited to see that project come to life. So those are the projects that I was able to land. And then the one that we had the grand opening for yesterday was Project Airbuzz. HTS Ag in Neola, they were relocating also from Harlan. They bought a building, renovated down on Main Street. It's going to be great to see more businesses and more people coming and going from those areas. So really, really happy to see those projects land and be a part of them. I have 17 active projects. They range all over the place from housing developments, warehousing projects, import projects, people that are importing goods from internationally into our area. And then also projects with significant community impact. One of those projects that I know I can talk about because they've gotten a lot of public press lately is Project Playhaven, which is a really unique idea of putting a childcare center next to an assisted living facility and allowing those interactions to happen. I just think it's so beautiful, and that would be one of the strong community feel projects that I talk about. That yes, it's good for the bottom dollar of the community, and it's good to raise with capital in improvement and so on and so forth, but it also has a really good feel, right? That makes you feel great about living in a community that's investing in their senior citizens and their youth in that kind of a way. So I am currently serving on Empower Rural Iowa and working really closely with that and the different grants that go out for that. So I'm really enjoying my time there. We've been working very hard on Iowa United First Aid and are getting ready to open another round of funding for that for more communities to come on board with that program. So excited to see that happening. Professional Developers of Iowa, I serve on their board, and then the National Rural Economic Development Association. I serve on their board, and I was able to present with the Lieutenant Governor of Iowa on Iowa United First Aid, and that was really well received. And we actually have gotten several invitations to present at numerous different conferences across the country based off of that. So this is something that we're really excited to see moving forward. One of the commitments that I've always made and I continue to make is that we will keep a consistent project list for all of the communities. I meet with the communities on a pretty regular basis and try to talk to them about what projects they have. That this involves road projects, this involves, community centers, it involves whatever the city is actively working on of where they're trying to grow and thrive to. I really try to be a community resource and somebody that people feel comfortable coming to and asking those questions and connecting them with the right places and people and things. And the same goes for business. I will say, one of the things I'm really looking forward to in 2026 is I think we're going to start focusing more on getting our rural sites ready to go. So one of the things that makes a business really, or a business attracted to a certain location is if you have land that you've figured everything out on. So you've done all the math on how much it's going to cost to bring infrastructure to it. You figured out how much it's going to cost to buy the land. You figured out what kind of water and sewer is capable on the land, what kind of power you can get to the land, soil wise and geo wise, what is in the land. If you can present that to someone and say, here's a piece of land that we believe is a really good piece for you, it makes it very easy for site selectors and things like that to look at that piece of land. And we don't have a ton of that in rural Pot County just because, quite frankly, the resources aren't there. It's kind of expensive to get a piece of land ready to go that way. And one of the things we're hoping to focus on in 2026 is to get 1 or 2 sites, what we call go ready, prepared like that and get it really well marketed and out there.
This would be like an industrial park area?
Yeah. Yep. And getting it and having all of the XYZs and due diligence out of the way on this so that if somebody's looking, it's a very easy, here's a ready-made product.
We're
So
looking
to
to partner with the Iowa West Foundation, hopefully on that, and potentially the Council Bluffs Industrial Foundation, and pinpoint 3 sites in rural Pot County where we can do all of the due diligence and at least have a desk-ready set of due diligence for Shalimar to be able to share that with prospective clients.
Thank you.
Shalimar, are you keeping an inventory of vacant buildings in each of the communities?
I know what's available. I don't keep an inventory of it. It's kind of just in my head. I could do that, but we have websites and things like Lois and retail realtor websites that do that for us. So it's not something that we keep externally, but not vacant necessarily. If they're on the market and being listed, I do know typically what's available. If you're talking about something that somebody technically still owns, they're not interested in selling it, they haven't reached out, that kind of thing. I mean, most of the time, because of my work with the communities, I know which buildings those are. And if we have any wiggle room or if somebody would be interested in purchasing them or moving with them.
Well, I'm thinking about rental space as far as retail shops and storefronts that are empty, that
Yeah.
maybe the building isn't for sale,
Yeah.
but the property is turnkey, ready for a tenant.
Hopefully, if that was the case, yes, I would know about it because they've called. And I have like a list of properties that are actively listed and are looking for that. Like we've got one in Oakland, I know they're looking to sell, not necessarily rent. But no, I don't keep an inventory of that. I mean, for the most part, I know, and the communities know, and so we talk about it. And if we can find something, I've got a current project that's looking for a really particular kind of warehouse space with a very small commercial space available. And that's kind of what they're looking for. And so I've gone through the communities that they're interested in and talked to the city clerk and, went and drove them and tried to check out if there was anything. I have before, if there's a building that doesn't look occupied and it would fit what a potential client would need, that I've found them on Potco and found their number and called them. I'm all for cold calling and figuring out if something's available and if they're interested. I do that a lot with land too.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you had an interchange with the city clerks that
Yes.
could say, hey, this property's open, will you add it to your list? And
Very consistently, yeah, and no, it's not formalized in that way, but that's what we talk, one of the things we talk about at the monthly meetings that we get together with them at.
I think in Facebook, I've seen 2 posts in the last 2 weeks where somebody was talking about looking for retail space or looking for something. I just put your name in there. so
Yeah.
that-
I saw.
And I really appreciate it. And then the second that happens or I see it, I private message them and just say, hey, I'm here. I'm able to help. Let me know what you need. That kind of stuff. A lot of what we do, and I think this really speaks to the fact that we've been so consistent over the past 7 years. We are getting a lot more referrals from those natural areas as opposed to us having to go out and like pick and Facebook pick and that kind of stuff. They're coming to the city and asking, how do I get a permit to do X, Y, Z? And they're like, hey, you should talk to Shalimar. And that is a really nice transition, I believe, that's working pretty well. So, yeah, and I always appreciate it whenever you do that. It's incredibly helpful. Anyone that can pass our information along, you don't need to suss out if it's a good idea or not. We'll help them. So.
Are you guys aware of some of the newer programs that Dr. Kinney is looking to initiate at Iowa West? He's looking at a 4-year technical degree, for instance. You're aware of those kinds of things?
Yeah, Dr. Kinney sits on our board of directors, so he
Okay, all right.
updates us on a pretty regular basis.
I think that the more that we can keep the younger folks here,
Mhm.
they're already trained, companies obviously look at the employee situation and wherever they're gonna be moving to, so.
Yes.
And-
Workforce is a big thing.
It is, and also to be able to determine like from the projects that we're working on, like what's the next big thing? What does Iowa Western need to be focusing on as far as training goes? So it's a really good partnership with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
It's good to hear the updates.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
your support. We really appreciate that.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Next up, Mitch Kai, Chief Financial Officer. Discussion and or decision to approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 72, 2025 entitled Resolution Declaring an Official Intent under Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 to issue debt to reimburse the county for certain original expenditures paid in connection with specified projects. Mitch?
Yep, so this is the resolution that we need to get passed for if and when we decide to bond for the 911 Motorola project. Basically, this kind of sets a not to exceed amount, so we're not, locking ourselves into a particular value or figure right now. But with some of these costs are becoming really fast, we'll basically have 85% of this project need to be paid probably by the end of February. So we really need to get this done so we can start that clock of anything that we expend after this moment. We have a big one due before the end of the year, so try to get that in. If you need some details on the resolution there itself, it looks like it was on there blank.
It is on their blank.
Yeah, so what we need to fill in there would be the project would be basically 911 upgrade Motorola. The fund from which it's being expended would be Fund 0001 and Fund 1520. So that would be our general fund and then the capital fund that we have set up. Our total estimated cost on that was 16.1 million. The amount borrowing anticipated, so this is kind of what our do not exceed amount is going to be. So I would recommend we put in 8 million there. Obviously that's still with the intent that we're not going to charge the debt service back to taxpayers. We'll have the funds to do it, but we've discussed that already. And then estimated date of completion would be, I would just say December of 2027. Well, we'll get up to that 8 million in the next 60 days.
We,
Go ahead. I was gonna say, this upgrade for 911 and the towers and switching over to ISIC system, which is the radio system around the state, except down here in southwest Iowa, we are on Orion. And it makes it real difficult to speak back and forth to different entities, different law enforcement, the EMA, fire departments, and all that. Anyway, this was a hard thing to vote on for that much money. But we did a lot of studying, and we wish the county would have done this long before. We didn't. We have to now. Our stuff is coming to end of life. And that's where we're at.
And just kind of that gives some more context, more information for you guys. Probably next week, you'll start seeing, we'll probably put a transfer resolution on to make sure we move enough funds from the general fund into the capital fund to start paying these expenses. And with that, we'll need to be doing a budget amendment, probably the first part of January, to make sure we have enough expenses budgeted out of that fund to cover us, to get us through this into this fiscal year. So just a heads up that will be coming as well.
Is this resolution time sensitive?
It is.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Then why weren't those numbers put in it ahead of time?
Well, we discussed last week that with the not exceed amount was going to be 10 million, and I think 8 million is probably a more prudent number to not exceed. We'll still have more study sessions and discussion on what the actual amount is going to be, but we need to get this done before we can pay the Motorola bill, which we need to get out by the 19th.
I don't understand why the numbers weren't in here, if that's what you wanted to propose. So we don't even have a resolution that states any of that. As we discussed before, we have $6 million. I went over this with you guys. We have $6 million in our capital expenditure fund. We have 10 million easily available in our general reserve. There's enough funds for us to cover this project without putting our taxpayers in debt with a bond. If we did that, what I would like to see us do is just that. Use our capital funds and the general reserve funds. That still leaves available to this county 3.8 million in gaming, 4.3 million in the land fund, an additional $2 million available in the general reserve, which is $10 million. And above that, we would still have, in order to keep our 2A1, AA1 bonding at 35%, we would still have, at 40%, we'd still have $19 million to keep us in the emergency fund if we ever needed it. Board members, we have the funds to cover this. Why would we put our taxpayers in debt for this? Why would we borrow any money when we have the funds available to take care of it? I can't support this resolution, and I firmly believe, as I've provided the documentation to you guys, we've talked about it before, we have the funds available. Let's use them.
I think the intent is to use our funds to pay for this project in its entirety anyway. That's why we're not passing it on to the debt service. But it gives us the option to pay this over. If we do bond, this isn't even locking us into a bond. If we do decide to bond, it gives us 5 to 6 years to pay this 16 million versus trying to pay all of that in 18 months. Basically, this resolution is just saying we have the ability to reimburse ourselves from bond funds if we decide to bond.
And this just allows us to go back, to pay back what we need to, if we so decide.
Exactly.
And this is not a decision on the amount or if we're doing it at this time.
Exactly. It just starts the clock.
And this has to be done by the 19th, correct?
Yes.
And we could decide not to do anything,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. It just starts the clock.
I feel we need to do this, just pass this and then move on. And whether we decide to bond for anything, then we do that at that time, and we have the debate at that time. Feel it's important to do this. Mitch,
If we don't do this, we lose the flexibility of it.
correct. We're just giving us flexibility to it.
Okay, well, we don't need the flexibility. We have the funds available to pay for it.
I feel Mitch is guiding us as a financial officer of the county. And I do get behind what you're doing, Mitch. So I cannot make a motion.
The board is fortunate that we have Mitch and his financial expertise to guide us. I agree with everything that Tim is saying, but I do believe we need the flexibility, especially not knowing what our legislators are going to do in the first quarter that could impact our funding stream. I will make the motion that we approve resolution number 72-2025 to get this ball rolling or have it in our arsenal if we so need to move forward with it.
I'll second that. Tim, I always appreciate your spendthriftiness. You know, I appreciate how you deal with our budget. People can keep an eye on everything. I really, very much appreciate it. But at the same time, you know, we got a report from the jail administrator on their risks. Because those positions there's positions there that aren't being filled, that need to be filled, they need to be funded. You know, these are ongoing things. And I think what Mitch is looking at is just the risk of, you know, where we're at and eliminating, you know, the risk possibility of what happens in the state legislature, what happens with our revenues, you know, what happens with gaming, you know, all of that. And this just gives us an opportunity, if need be, an opportunity that we can take all of these things into account if we have to. So that's where I'm at.
Mary Ann, I got a motion and a second. Will you call roll call?
Yes, Chairman Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Kate Gerber, Public Relations Manager, discussion and/or decision on implementing TextMyGov services to increase communication and transparency with Potawatomi County citizens. Okay.
You all have this electronically as well, but just in case you want to. Are. Thank you. Very much. You're ready now. So this is a service that I initially looked at pretty close to when I first started with the county back in March. And decided to take a slow approach to considering any outside tools or software solutions and really try to get more of a grasp of this role and the needs of the county, which I feel like I've been able to do and have kind of covered things in a lot of different ways with basically the resources that were available to me, which is our website and our social media platforms. Ultimately, I know that not everyone visits our website and not everyone is on social media. We have in total across all of our social platforms for just the county level accounts, roughly 3,667 followers. Now, if you assume that there's some overlap there and that there's people who follow us on multiple channels, that number is significantly lower than that in terms of who we're actually able to reach on social. When you look at a solution like TextMyGov, what they start you with is an initial phone number database. They look at the data that they have for our county boundaries, and they are estimating that we would be able to get phone numbers for 23,556 households. Household number is a little bit tricky to get as far as the true census number, but the latest estimate I could find was that Pot County has approximately 40,000 households. So we would be starting with 58% of the households in Pot County with a phone number that we could reach them. And it really goes back to enforcing my initial goals for this position, which is to better communicate, engage, and educate with our citizens. I think this is a really valuable tool, and we would be looking at using it solely from the PR department initially. It is something that could technically be viewed as a pilot if other departments found it valuable and thought that that would be something they also wanted to take advantage of or figure out a way to use for their department's purposes. But I think from a PR perspective, we could cover a really broad range of topics through this service. And then initially, I would also only be using it as a communicating outward, not using their service to have people text in. So that is something where they offer both versions of the service. I think we would need to have a wider adoption and more departments involved in order to be bringing on incoming text messages, because that's where you're more likely to get inquiries about pothole or some other things. I don't want to just constantly say roads examples because I know who's behind me. But, my road's not getting plowed, things like that. The things that people are most likely to text into a service like that obviously would not be best fielded by coming to me. So that's where I would initially want to start by solely viewing it as a communicating outwardly resource. And I would initially start it with being able to send, basically having people opt into very specific categories of communication. So we know that not everybody wants to hear about everything, but if people want to opt into courthouse or county building closures, that way we get that information out to people in another way besides just the website or posting something on the door, because the worst thing is for a citizen to show up and then realize after the fact that it's already closed, because who knows what kind of changes they've made to their day to try and come here to use one of the services that they need to access. We could also use it to communicate about county events, whether that is specifically from a county level or from a specific department. Obviously, we've got a lot of great, I'm just going to keep shouting out the departments who are in the room, a lot of wonderful public health events that take place. Would love to be able to have another avenue to communicate out about some of those things as well. And really, I just think that this would be a great tool to have in my PR toolkit, which ultimately has initially been very small, and I've tried to be as scrappy as I possibly can. But I think we're getting to the point where if we want to keep growing on the basis that I've been able to put in place, we're going to need a few more resources and tools to be able to do that. So that's kind of my initial, and I know there's some questions, which I'm more than happy to field.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around this. So do you see it as an outgoing text or an incoming text?
Outgoing. They do offer that ability to do incoming, but that's a specific way that you communicate the program. You would say like, hey, text this number if you have something you want to, tell the county. We would not be leveraging that, at least not initially, because I don't think I would have the bandwidth or resources to be able to handle that appropriately. So it would be just purely outward communication.
How do you know there's 40,000?
40,000 households. That was just the best number I could find from census data.
But I meant like, how can you tell between cell phone and landlines, which landlines are disappearing?
Oh, that's a good question. Some of their numbers are, they've got approximately 97% of smartphone owners are using their text functionality regularly. Obviously, that's not telling you the landline piece of it, but I'm really just basing it off of the data that I could gather from census information and also the information that they have, which was mostly from the Pew Research Center.
I know my area code's 402 when I get bombarded with voting instructions from
Same here.
Nebraska politicians. How would we limit that to just Hot County residents?
That's a very good question. I know they have a lot of kind of parameters in place to make sure that, because it doesn't benefit them at all to communicate with people who this information is not relevant to them. So I know they have a lot of guardrails in place when they are giving you that number. And ultimately, that's why it cannot ever be close to 100% of the citizens or households in an area. But I think that's where they try to be as accurate and narrow and potentially exclude some people from it in order to not include the wrong people.
But we can continually add numbers to it.
Yes, and people can opt into it. So it's something where we do the courthouse surveys a couple of times a year right now. We could have QR codes where people could just access the survey that way, and it's all kind of funneling through the same type of service. And then we would also have opt-in capabilities through that as well. So that would just be that initial number that they're able to start us with, so that we're not starting from nothing, which would make this much more challenging. But then certainly we can grow it over time and make sure that it's being communicated out on all those other platforms to try and have more people join the service as well.
Kate, is there a cost to this?
There is, which is why we're having this conversation. So the base subscription fee is $9,000 a year, and then there's an initial implementation fee for the first year. I believe it's approximately $4,000.
Have you had our county attorney's office review the contract?
I have not had the attorney's office review the contract. This has been vetted by IT, however, and they have given their seal of IT approval to it.
Where do we come up with money?
For that, I would like to bring in Mitch.
Since,
It's always about the money.
Mhm.
well, so since PR is now under the Board of Supervisors, this would then fall under the Board of Supervisors budget in there. Obviously, there'd be enough in it this year to get us, if you wanted to get going on it this year, we could get going on it. And then we would have a kind of a separate software subscription budget line that would be added for this coming budget year.
And it looks like from the material, you have contacted some other counties that are using it.
Yeah, so there's City of Fort Dodge in Iowa is using it, and then Washington County is using it as well. They seem to be very happy with the service. I think they're using it in both of the communicating outwardly and receiving those incoming texts. So it's a little bit different than how we would at least be starting out initially, but they've had good results from it so far. There's use cases for it on more of the emergency alert kind of communication as well. Again, to pull in my other departments who happen to be in the room, obviously I know with EMA, we're using the Alert Iowa service, so I feel like we have that pretty well taken care of, but it could be another avenue to encourage people to sign up for that service specifically as well. So just another way to share any of the relevant resources and things that we think are beneficial to the citizens.
Are you the one going to be overseeing this?
I would be.
Okay, no, IT is just,
Yeah, I had to vet it through them just because it's a software solution and we want to make sure that it passes their security criteria.
okay.
Is there any reporting that comes out of the system?
There is. So they have a really extensive online dashboard, and that's where all of the, I can program and schedule in the text from there. And then they do have reporting capabilities there as well. And I think there's some automation that can be set so that it sends out a report on a monthly basis or something like that. So we would know what our unsubscribe rate is, which that was another number I meant to include. On that initial text, the first one that goes out, what they see on an average retention rate is about 90%. So there will be that initial drop off of people who are like, hey, I didn't actually want this and I'm going to walk away, but they're still hovering above, right about at or above 90% for that initial retention rate.
I'd love to know the amount of people over here that got a 402 area.
And I can definitely talk to them about that. That was one thing that I don't think we've really covered in extensive detail is the 712 versus the 402 and just kind of how that could potentially impact anything in terms of the initial database.
Well, and we have residents we have employees that live in Omaha that would want the messages too, I would think.
And that'd be some of that opting in, I think, too.
I get it. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. Are you done, Susan?
I am.
Hey, is there an escape clause at all in the initial term?
I have sent that question to them and I'm waiting for a response on that, but the initial term is 3 years, which sets that price and would allow us to avoid any price increases over that 3-year term.
You were able to demo this, right?
Mhm.
And did it meet what you were looking for?
It did. I think they're very focused on government entities, municipalities, counties. This is their bread and butter in terms of the types of clients that they're working with. And I think it really checks all the boxes in terms of both the functionality of what they're sending out. There's some integration capabilities where we could have it also post to Facebook as well if we wanted to send some of the same types of messages to our social audience. And then with some of the reporting capabilities too. I thought it checked everything.
So I thought I heard you talk about the cancellation rate, so 90% stay on, so you only have about a 10% cancellation rate?
Of those people who are going to send that stop initial text.
Do you get a list of the numbers, phone numbers?
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily get that list initially to review. I think it gets imported into the account, but that's part of the onboarding piece of it.
Is there names that come with those numbers?
I think so. I think there's some level of confidentiality and things with that, but I'm not sure. I'll be honest.
Okay. And it's not in your budget because you don't have one.
Correct.
Okay.
It was one of the downsides of PR bouncing around a little bit this year and being a little bit homeless.
This isn't time sensitive, right?
The only time sensitive aspect would be the 2025 pricing. So they are looking at a 2026 price increase. And so that $9,000 a year subscription fee is the price for 2025.
Our legal team hasn't had a chance to review it.
No, I have not talked to the attorney's office about it.
I think we should probably try that and have them take a look at it. There were some questions I believe Susan had, and I had that I think that you may need to follow up on, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I mean, but I mean, if the board's ready to move forward with it, that's their prerogative. But we can get some of those answers to those questions, names, numbers. You know, you said you have a request in for an opt-out clause, those kind of things. I'd be happy to see that.
Okay.
I'd like to see a corrected invoice too. We've got the 9,000 for the package price and the 4,000 for the implementation, but the total first year, it's 13,500. The math wasn't updated when the
Yeah, I
pricing.
didn't update with that discount. Absolutely.
Kate, if you could do that over, would you put it on the agenda for next week?
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do like the forward thinking and like you mentioned, trying to get the messages out to more of our citizens. And I think this is a good first step. But I think the response is going to be, well, the county can talk to me. Wouldn't it be great if I could just text the county when I've got an issue or I've got a question? And I think that's going to be the next hurdle we're going to have to figure out.
Yeah, and that's certainly, a huge portion of how their clients are using this service. I'm just trying to be realistic about my department of one and what is feasible, because the thing I would hate to do is to open that up and then not have it be responsive enough for people. I think if we could get the buy-in and have it be something that was implemented by some of the other departments or had other departments have someone engaged with it, I would love to see it be able to be a two-way street.
I like it. More responsive to people. I like that.
I think it would be good for a drama diffuser instead of a drama escalator. So
We don't like drama escalators.
Okay,
Thank you.
bring it back next week,
I will.
please.
thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Next up, Matt Wyatt, Director of Planning and Development, Maria C., Administrator, which she's not here, Public Health, and Jordan Ranta, Infection Preventionist, Public Health, discussion and or decision of opioid settlement fund allocation.
Yeah, thanks for having us back. We did our study session a while ago on this, and the request was made to put this into a pro forma and adjust our request a little bit on how we would like to allocate some of this funding for Pottawatomie County and stay in with what our opioid action plan has laid out for us. And so I did that. I worked with Mitch, got some numbers there for you. I put it into that 10-year pro forma, along with what the projected allocations were from the different settlements that we are involved with currently. And so the starting balance on our opioid funding right now is $1,882,034. The projected annual new revenue to that would be $313,486. We are looking, what our request would be for 2026 out of that would be $387,172, which gives us a net change per year of $73,000 off of that. And so if you follow that pro forma down, even down, we get down towards year 10 on that, we're still sitting there pretty comfortably with about a $1.145 million balance in that account. On what we've done with our reestimate, because if you can recall, originally we came in here, I believe we were asking for around $512,000 potentially spend out of that account. There has been a couple of changes in that. We did receive $60,000 in new funding for a CAP program. And so that was able to help us adjust what our funding amount has gone in there. We are still asking that we bring on a community health opioid strategist. And that was going to be to help us work with all of these new community health workers that all of the different organizations in our community are having join their organizations to make sure that we keep public health out there on the front and leading community health in our area, and that it doesn't become confusing for area residents to think, well, we have all these other different community health workers out there. And staff training on there, we added in to where we have $7,500 adjusted expense for 2025, and then we were also requested $7,500 for 2026. There are a couple of national level conferences out there, and we budgeted enough in that amount to have 5 individuals go to them. We would like to have at least one board member accompany us to a national conference. Mitch and then 3 public health staff would go to that. We missed NACO's. NACO's held theirs out in Washington, D.C. I think it's going to be important for us to attend these. It's going to make sure that we get to the information as it's coming out. They have some really good educational seminars on how other counties are utilizing their opioid dollars. And so if one of the board members could accompany to something like that, I think that would be fantastic.
Where would that be?
There's one coming up that we're looking at attending in Nashville, and that's in April. And then I marked back down for November again for the NACO one in DC.
What's the dates?
I don't have the exact dates for you yet. I didn't write.
Nashville's April 6th through 9th would be.
6th through 9th?
Yep, in April, and then.
Are you talking about the legislative conference for NACO?
It's an opioid
Oh,
conference.
yeah, okay.
Nashville. It's funny, you're talking about this. We went to the regional ISAC thing last week down in Creston. Boy, there's a lot of talk about it. There's a lot of confusion over what's going on with that. I really appreciate what you're doing because it sounds like we got a good program here.
We're hoping to put something really a good proposal here for you. And then we did go back and work with Methodist Health System on their high-risk community healthcare worker, and we were able to adjust their $100,000 request down to a $75,000 request. That would begin in July of 2026. So all of that together would equal that $387,172 for us. And again, I think it's the best information we have available. Hopefully it'd be something that the Board of Supervisors would like to be able to consider.
I will look at everything. I wouldn't mind going to that. Okay. You just need one?
That's what we had budgeted in there for it. I mean, if more went to attend, we could adjust that budget number.
Yeah, if it's not in Matt's budget, you can certainly pay your own way, Brian.
Yeah.
Jordan, I'm sorry, did you ask some questions?
No, right ahead.
Jordan, I know you're sitting in for Maria, and I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, and if you're not comfortable, we'll make Matt do it. The preparedness coordinator, we are, what's that? Do we have a job description for that?
We do have a job description for that. That's a current employee. That is the HPP grant that we were awarded on a 5-year contract. It comes from the feds to the state. We've added that in here as a placeholder currently. There is talk on the federal level that funding may end up getting pulled, but that is our hospital preparedness person. He's the one who is working to keep the two hospitals working together. And right now, he's working on those preparedness efforts to it. We would like to be able to keep the two hospitals working together as far as opioids as well. Each of them are kind of doing their own thing.
Who is that?
That's Akeem Bannister.
Okay. Then, Matt, you have that, community health opioid strategist.
Correct.
Who's that?
That is the one new position that this would add.
Well, there's two new positions.
One.
Okay, well, what about the high-risk community health worker?
One to the health department. The high-risk
Okay,
community health
okay.
workers works for Methodist.
All right. So where do we have a job description for that position? For the community health opioid strategist?
We do have a job description prepared. We did not bring that forward today because we wanted to talk about the funding first. It was too much when we came in with job descriptions, tables of organization. That was a lot of information we presented to you in a study session. So we thought we would come today, we would talk about the funding. If you all decided to approve the funding, then we will follow up, bring you back those job descriptions for approval at that time.
Okay, so, and then that is, that is the biggest expense for this.
Correct.
And that would be a county employee.
It would be.
And by looking at your budgeting, there's enough money for 15 to 20 years for this position, provided
Correct.
we still receive the opioid funds.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. The,
One thing to make sure that you understand on these budgeted amounts that you see for these positions here,
yeah,
we budgeted those amounts as if we budgeted for a grant position. So that includes, when people come in here and they ask you for new positions, more than likely, they're not showing you the county contribution sides of that thing. They're showing you what it costs from their department perspective to have that employee. So this includes all of your IPERs, not only that the county pays for it, that all of those fringe pieces, the county contributions for insurance, everything is included into that amount. So
but not in the 75,000.
not in the 75 because that's on Methodist.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you were able to take a look at this, Matt, and project things that can happen for a long time. When you by adding these positions, what benefits will people in Potawatomi County get with their opioid addiction or any other opioid issues that they have?
So our focus on the opioid action plan is really that education and prevention aspect to it. We also do offer that resource referral and coordination piece of it to where a number of these different nonprofits have opened up and started just in specific areas to opioid related things. Some people are just offering transportation. Some people are offering therapy services, housing services. This helps us make sure that we have a person who's able to connect with each of them on a regular basis and as they pop up and go away to make sure that our resources are current so that as we're reached out to, whether it is by an individual, family member, and or another organization, we have that resource ready to go for them and we know that it's current.
Okay. Last question for you. Jordan. In the period of years that we hope that this plan works, will there ever be a need? Will the need ever go away for opioid addiction?
I don't believe so. I mean, there's been waves of different substance use crisis. So you had prescription pills that were early 2000s. There was the heroin crisis, and now it's fentanyl, unfortunately. And so those are man-made drugs. Fentanyl and any carfentanil things you've seen probably on the news are man-made. And I think that's just kind of unfortunately going to continue. And so putting these things in place, the harm reduction tools, meeting people where they're at, to avoid those crises when they're experiencing them is kind of the best way we can push prevention and education. So fortunately, no, I don't think that need will go away.
That's all I have.
Susan?
I don't have any other questions.
I just want to make sure I understand that 75,000, that does not go through us, correct?
It comes through us to Methodist.
From them, okay. I was just wondering the total with that 75,000.
Correct.
All right, Jeff,
I'm good.
Jordan, thanks for bringing Matt in with it. Okay,
You wanna, I appreciate your work on that, Matt. Jordan, I really do.
from what we heard last week, this is good. Very good. 'Cause
I'll
they're
move that
confused. Okay, thank you, Tim.
So what exactly is our motion?
To approve the budget, the opioid, settlement, fund allocation.
I'll second that.
They'll come back to us once they, post those positions, right?
Before then, because we'll get the job description and things that are for you all.
Okay,
Does there need to be a dollar amount in there, Matt, in the motion?
the 387.
You want one? You want a dollar amount? 172. Well, you know what? I don't know if I want that in there. That could change, right? That could go up a little bit, could go down a little bit, right?
Correct. We'll put this, what we'll do is we'll put this in with our budget. That we're gonna come before you all beginning of January sometime is what we will do. So that way you'll know that it's there.
Okay.
Because there's a reallocated amount for this year and then, the requested expense for next year.
You want a period at the end of allocation.
Or what'd you say, Marianne?
You want a period at the end of allocation in the motion then?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to put any dollars on it
Okay.
right now.
Okay, got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those against? Motion carried. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kate Bremer, Emergency Management Specialist, Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, 2019 FEMA recap, outstanding issues with claims for 2024.
Thank you very much for having me today. I do want to specify before we start with this, I am working only with the drainage districts, and that will be what my report is on, the drainage districts in Potawatomi County. Doug is the person who backs me up on that and takes care of all of the other stuff. So very much appreciate his help and input on all of these projects. I wanted to a high level one because we do have some good news and we have some challenges coming up for the 2019 flooding. All of the projects for Potawatomi County drainage districts are closed and complete. In the first 3 years of the project, FEMA paid out $428,000 approximately. Last year in 2025, they paid out $9,746,000. So we did get the projects finished up. Unfortunately, it took forever to get them done.
The 9,746,000,
That was what the projects were. Yes, that wasn't FEMA's share of that was 75%.
okay, and that was just in Pot County.
That was only drainage districts in Pot County.
Okay,
Okay, it was 6 applicants. There were 25 projects. 11 of them were closed in the first few years, and then 14 of them were closed this year. I do want to point out that Honey Creek and Pigeon Creek had some horrendous delays due to environmental and historic preservation. Obviously, the project's closed in 2025. It happened in 2019. FEMA did produce a study on historical artifacts in the Potawatomi County area. They also have digitized many records from Potawatomi County, so they are available to the public through a portal. While that was happening, the drainage districts were incurring interest until they satisfied those requirements. we were able at the state to list and show that this was a FEMA delay. These were things that were happening and solely on the plate of FEMA. And they did end up reimbursing Honey Creek $400,000 in interest and Pigeon Creek $300,000 in interest. So that is a big boon to the districts and to the county because those funds are reimbursed. And there is already a very positive impact on that. The 2024 projects, they had a ton of contractors bidding on them because they now know that they're going to be paid instead of being issued warrants. So during the 2019 projects, we did encounter several issues that we discussed with FEMA that were a result of Iowa Code 468, the Drainage and Levee District Code. We thought that we had quite a few of those addressed, and we do. But when we switched to the 2024 projects, also involving the same drainage districts, we are encountering new issues. The Board of Supervisors, thankfully, with the help of Doug, made an official letter saying that the districts could utilize the county's UEI number, which is the new version of a DUNS number, and to have the districts go forward trying to get their own. We are anticipating that that will be a very difficult process. We are working through that with the state. There are some non-disaster grant funds that need a UEI also, and we think there might be a way of doing it for the drainage districts. A couple of the drawbacks for that are they need to have a permanent address. And the drainage districts, as you know, for the most part, have trustees that turn over. So we cannot utilize their address. They need to have their own account. Right now, they utilize historically and by Iowa Code 468, they utilize the county auditor and treasurer.
Can their address be a PO box?
No, it must be a physical.
Physical address.
Physical address.
So what is, how they suggesting that?
I don't know I don't know. I am so, we looked at this and I know John Rosingen tried to do this in 2019 when it first came out, and it has just been kind of a mishmash of things, but it is in 2 CFR, the federal money procurement. And so therefore the state is working very diligently to get that set up so that we don't have this type of confusion in the future. If we can, we will get the drainage districts their own. If not, we will work with the counties to see the best way of doing that. You know, can we get a separate address here? You know, how do we do that? So the UEI is one issue. Another issue that we have, and I will be meeting with the auditors from both Pottawatomie County and Harrison County, is the maintenance requirements under 468. By law, the trustees or the supervisors are required to do repairs. Well, unless you have photographic proof of what it looked like on May 14th when the flood hit May 15th, FEMA is saying you don't have true maintenance records. You don't have anything that says we went out on April 12th and we looked at this 6 miles, and then we went out on May 12th and we looked at this 6 miles. It's what they're asking for is going to be incredibly difficult to provide. Yes.
Can they do drone?
We don't know at this point. We're trying to keep it within the law. So because the districts and the board, you're abiding by the law, that should be sufficient. And that's what we want to put forth to FEMA is what is in place right now is sufficient. It is the legal requirements for the districts. We have, John Rosengren has one drainage district They turned in 8 inches of invoices, proof of purchase, contracts. FEMA said that's not sufficient because you did not cover this area that was scoured this year. We can have the drone photographs. Great idea. We have that. But can we pinpoint where that scour happened? Do we know that that was mowed? It's what they're asking for is not feasible to provide. We ended up with one of them providing Google Earth where the grass was all green. And then after the flood, the grass was green and black. Green good, black bad. Well, how do we know when that photograph was taken? Yes.
It sure seems to me that they're gonna force trustees to not join in.
That is a very valid concern. We are hearing it from the trustees. We are hearing it from state workers that are trying to do it. How can we meet their requirements? And it should be sufficient if we're abiding by Iowa code. And we can prove we're abiding by Iowa code. So over the next few weeks, we will be having discussions on that. They are going to be very in-depth discussions. And it's just a very frustrating situation for everybody involved because.
Have them come out and walk with the trustees.
Yes.
I'll bet it changes real quick then.
Well, the site inspectors came out. They were here in what, November and December? I mean,
Every year, the last 5 years, it seems like.
winter months, I walked the ditches with all of them. They said, oh, look, this damage is fresh and new. The site inspectors aren't sufficient either. We don't have photographic evidence. It's just, we're just spinning our wheels. So I want you to know that we're working with these projects. As of right now, out of the 2024 projects that have been submitted, 4% of the dollars have been obligated. The rest of it is sitting at FEMA waiting for obligation. And well, Susan, I have talked to the board members before and I've talked with Susan. This is something I will pursue and I'm just gonna go for it. But one of the other things, and this is, I don't know, I'd like to just throw the idea out there to the board. Don't know that there would be a motion or I don't know how it would be done. Another thing that FEMA is pushing for right now as an EHP concern is public notice. If a project is going to be done and it could potentially have an environmental impact, there needs to be public notice for 15 days. What they have been asking for is at the work site. So have you all seen a drainage ditch? You put it at the work site on a county road, and how many cars drive by and see that notice? And we'll stop and read it to see if they want to make a comment. We put it in newspapers, that type of thing. So both of those are, putting it at the work site is not cost effective. And it is not effective because truthfully, nobody is seeing it. Putting it in newspapers, how many of you still read the newspaper? So, this is done, I do. But do you read it online or in paper?
In paper,
Okay.
all
Okay,
print,
so
public notices.
what we'd like to do is, we can utilize the newspaper. That is not, it's not a big cost to do that, but we don't know how effective it is. I have gotten approval from FEMA to post at the cooperative in Missouri Valley as a public location in lieu of the work site. Because more people will be there, they will see it, it's a community center. They can look at the notice, respond. I would like to inquire as to would it be feasible to put it on the Board of Supervisors website, that this project is, or the emergency management website, that this project is happening in the county. Would you like to make any comment on it? We can then provide that it is on the website. We have done the public notice. And that would really be at no charge because we could do everything by email,
Kate,
take a screenshot.
you listen to that?
I'm listening.
I was just thinking about this.
Like, wow, communication, so interesting how this all aligns.
Oh, my goodness, yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Not that I'm pitching Kate's idea, but there's only certain things that we can use the statewide alerting system for, and administrative emergency stuff usually is just another good use case. But as far as the website, I mean, it's like a 5-minute deal that either one of us could do. So,
Yep. Yeah, and we've
not an issue.
had a good relationship back and forth on making sure that that kind of thing gets covered.
So what we would need is, we would email it, it would need to be posted for 15 days. We would need to have a screenshot that was indeed public facing. So you've got the FEMA, and then after the 15 days, they can say, okay, you notified the public.
Will that suffice for the state?
Yes. The state does not have that requirement. This is a FEMA requirement,
Okay.
FEMA EHP requirement. We have not, and Doug, you've worked with this for years. Have you ever encountered that we have to put up public notices?
It's just-
But it'd also be good to inform the public too. So
Yeah,
is
they,
that something that could happen?
so however we want to note that, I will work with Kate or with Doug or however we want to do that and get those posted.
Do we go through Jeanette, you or Kate? Let Kate do it?
Kate and I will talk about it.
Okay.
It's
I like
really
it.
gonna be the notice that needs to be done coming from the state.
I like it.
You'll just put it up and provide the proof. Not a big deal.
So that will be for future drainage projects
There's actually
or?
a couple out there right now that I keep being informed that we haven't done the public notice requirement on it. But we can do that. Again, it's a matter of a couple of moments just to email it, post it, take it down.
We could put it on the auditor's page as well, because we're the ones who have the drainage. So, I mean, double barrel, I'm not saying that instead of, but
So whatever you feel is best for your county, I will work with that. And John Rosen, it will come to John as representative of the drainage districts. And then I will talk with him and say, just send it here, send me proof, that's your closeout.
Sounds good.
So by doing that, will that increase our 4% of funds obligated to any
It
higher?
potentially will. That is one of the reasons that they are saying they're not being done. I truly don't know. We go, why is it not obligated? Well, you haven't done this, or you haven't done this, and you haven't told us we needed to do that. So it's just a very unfortunate situation right now. That there's just wheels spinning and projects needing to be done. And the last meeting that we had, they said, well, there's no reason the drainage districts can't start their projects before they're obligated. And it's, have you looked at the financial process for doing one of these projects? So there's a lack of understanding there. So hopefully we'll be able to do that with FEMA and get some acknowledgement of the situation here and move that obligation up.
Okay.
So it is 42% of the projects are obligated, but it's only 4% of the money.
You said something about historic artifacts that you know are there or you're searching for. What kind of artifacts are you?
The Pigeon Creek and Honey Creek fill site, they felt there may be some, and I am very vague on it because this started 5 years ago. There might be Indian artifacts there.
Okay, but they don't know that.
Oh, no, they did a study and found that there were indeed
Oh.
no artifacts there, which is sort of what we knew to start with, but we had to do the study.
So these could be tourist attractions
Mm,
at some point.
she's saying there were no artifacts there.
Are there no artifacts?
We ran into the same thing when we put a debris site at the old KOA campground after the April 26th tornadoes. It became an issue because there were vague records that said that there were potential settlements in the area, so therefore they couldn't. And, you know, my only response to FEMA at that time was, we didn't care about it when it was a campground for 50 years, so. And then it flooded later and washed everything away, so it was a moot point, so. But, anyway, it's a lot of this stuff in the EHP process is predicated on potential and not actual, so.
And it is, you know, I guess my feeling on that is, and I share this with FEMA on a regular basis, these are fourth and fifth generation owners. If anybody is going to know their land and be good stewards of the earth, it's going to be these people. But that doesn't meet the executive orders and the rules and regulations. So,
I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Does that sound familiar?
Okay,
so, but I very much appreciate it, and as you can probably tell, it is very frustrating to be working with these people and not be able to get them better answers quickly. And so that will be my goal over the next several months.
Doug, Kate, will you keep us informed? Okay,
I will keep Doug informed and he can share because he's here regularly. How's that sound?
thank you. And you're done?
I am done, and I thank you very much for listening and for your support, getting those 2019 projects done, and hopefully we can get the 2024 done also. The total amount of projects for 2024 is $5,419,000. So you have an idea. So it is smaller than 2019.
Okay.
Well,
I appreciate your time.
if you've got any other ideas or need our help to do anything else, please don't hesitate to ask.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
You're more than welcome.
Okay. Next up, Matt Wyatt, Director, Planning and Development, Maria Seek, Administrator, Public Health, discussion and/or decision on appointments to the Board of Health.
Yes, we have two individuals that are up for reappointments on the Board of Health. We have Dr. Sean Jones. We are asking that he just be appointed for a one-year term. He's looking to kind of step down from the Board of Health, so it'll give us a year to find a new physician to be on there. And then we have Amber Strobing, our veterinarian on the board, and we would like to have her reappointed for a 3-year term end on December 31st of 2028.
okay. Is that your recommendation now?
It is.
Is that your recommendation, Gordon?
Yes.
I'll move that for you, Brian.
I'll
Thank you.
second that.
Okay. A motion and a second to approve both appointments, Amber Strobing and Dr. Sean Jones to the Board of Health. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, they're not here to be sworn in.
No, they're just reappointments.
Okay, so we're okay.
Yeah.
Next up, Matt Wyatt, Planning and Development. Decision or discussion and decision on appointments to the Appeal Board.
Yes, for this one, our appeal board is the board that sits for our building codes. And I put the code sections in there. It's under chapter 10 of our building code for the appeal board. On there, if there were to ever be a type of material or something that is not specified in the code, then these board members would rule upon whether or not its use is comparable to what is in the code.
Neil's been on there before.
He has been on there before. This is a board that we've had in place since 2007, when the county adopted building codes. We've had one meeting in that time with these board members, and I am still looking for a plumber to fill a role on there. We do have it advertised back up on the website again, because we are one member short on there That would be for the plumbing trade.
What trade will Neil be taking up, Matt?
Neil has done general home building in the past, and he currently runs concrete construction for foundations.
Is he replacing an existing member?
No, he's a reappointment.
Okay. Is that your recommendation, Matt?
It is.
How about you, Jordan?
It is.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried.
And just for information for the board, so our zoning board of adjustment and our planning commission, neither of those have members that need reappointed this year. But
Okay.
there will be some on next year's.
All right.
lineup.
Jordan, you should come in more often. Seems to go easier.
Yeah.
Matt, I would ask you to stay for, item 4, C4, or whatever it is, committee appointments.
Okay, discussion on office closures for the holidays. Okay, the following office will be closed Christmas Eve. The auditor, the recorder, the treasurers, the public health building will close at noon on Christmas Eve. Veteran service will be closed on December 26th. Discussion only, no action taken. What that is people are taking vacation during that period, their own vacation. Typically, that's not a very busy day. Learned that the city is traded around some holidays and actually take that day off. And what we probably need to do is discuss that more with department heads for next year. And we could do that at the beginning of January when we set the holidays. Would that work?
The state is also, excuse me, is also closed on Christmas Eve. State
Okay,
offices, so any state offices that work with our offices are not accessible to us.
typically,
DOT is closed. We have
let's say it again.
The DOT is closed. We have no access to, if we need questions or answers or
Nothing.
nothing.
Yes, I didn't know that about the state. Say that again?
All state offices are closed on
Yes.
Christmas Eve.
That's a government.
This is for this year, that's,
For this year. It's not every year, correct?
it has been for the last few years, under Governor Reynolds.
Do they swap a holiday around?
The holiday was given.
We should have more of a discussion at the first of the year when we set our holidays.
Well, we have several departments that are 24/7 and don't get the flexibility for holidays. And our union contracts also disclose what the holidays are. So it's not just, we're not nimble. We're not one size fits all. And I appreciate those offices that do have support during the holidays because we know we need them.
Okay. All right, next up is committee appointments. Jeff, you got anything?
Friday, I was out to the Cape Creek Road Shop. County Engineer Andy Wicks and Tim was out there too. We just visited these county shops to get familiar with the shop itself and with the employees that are working out of the shops. Always great to get together with our roads department employees. And then next Friday, I'll be out going out with Andy on a tour of the county. He said, wherever you think there's a problem with our roads in the county, he said him and I would take a tour of the county. And I've got already visited some places that I think need some attention, so that's where I'm at. That's all.
Okay. Last week I was at the VA. There's a Les Hill Alliance. And then Susan and I went down to Creston for the regional ISAC meeting. Susan?
And while we were at the ISAC department, our district supervisor meeting, they rolled out the legislative priorities for this year that ISAC was going to be intentional towards. And of course, property tax was the top of their list. And they encouraged us all to find efficiencies and be ready to tell our stories to our legislators so that they know one size did not fit all and they need to hear from us. So I kind of took that as my call to action. I also, after that, I attended the Golden Hills board meeting. Yesterday, I was in Neola with Brian for the ribbon cutting for the HDS ag business. And I would like to call attention to all of the beautifully decorated Christmas trees that our county departments have. They're out on the website. They're looking for votes to pick the favorites. And there's just a wide variety and they look really good. And I applaud our employees for participating. And finally, I want to offer my prayers and support to the troops, not just for the families that were impacted with the 2 Iowans that we lost, but for all of them that are away from home for the holidays. So.
Thank you. Tim?
Matt, I asked you to hang tight here just for a second. I emailed you the reports for our 2 TIF districts.
Yes.
And I don't know if you'd be ready to do that next week or even if it needs to happen next week, but I would like you to put together that kind of a overview of where we're at. You know, the Armstrong TIF tax is 142. You can see that. I think part of that goes to the impact fund, right?
Correct. First $54,500 of that, I believe, goes back to that impact fund.
Okay, can you give the board an update on that? Also, in the Peterson TIF, there is, I believe, I don't remember what the number was, 15, 20,000, something like that. What is the board's options for dispersing those funds? Can it be sent to like the city of, I don't know, McClellan? Or what can we do with those? And how fast can we get rid of them?
Specific to the LMI funding, that's the LMI holdback?
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't do us any good to have that money in an account not doing anything.
Correct.
When somebody could be using it. And that's all I have. So it doesn't have to be next week, Matt. If you want to get the 2nd or 3rd week of January, that'd be fine too. I just something that I'd like for you to get the board updated on.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, public comments?
None.
None. Well, doing a little better. Okay, next up is study session with Suzanne Watson, Executive Director, Western Iowa Service Collaborative, and Jamie Lorenz, General Assistance Caseworker 1, Discussion and Planning for General Assistant Program.
Is she here?
I think Suzanne was planning on being here. I think she's probably coming up. Can we take a pause for a few minutes?
I did drop your public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Uh-oh.
I did not see it.
Well, we'll back up a little bit.
I don't need to log in.
Okay.
I'm not afraid.
Name and address.
Mark Shoemaker, 340 Christie Street, Carson, Iowa. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors, the County Legal Counsel, and the Appointment Committee for continuing to move forward during these challenging times and to working to get the county back on track. There has been and continues to be a great deal of speculation about the present and future leadership of Potawatomi County. Social media and coffee shop talk is full of discussion regarding the vacant position, how an appointment will work, and whether a special election is the right path. I've been gone for about 10 days, so I know you had some meetings about this and there's some direction going forward. I want to be clear, although that I'm running for supervisor in 2026, I did not submit a letter of interest and do not want my name considered for appointments. The toxicity of the current situation in the past year makes that inadvisable. Even though I firmly believe this county needs someone with integrity, common sense, and willingness to listen and respect the people of Potawatomi County every single day. I believe there is greater value and credibility in being elected by the people for a position that exists for the people. I don't believe a special election is the right path for a position that could be only in a seat for a year. Filling a vacant elected county officer by appointment is legal and outlined in Iowa code. Again, thank you for all the work you're doing. Being a public servant is not easy. I served successfully for over 30 years, and I look forward to getting back to serving the county and the people of Potawatomi County. Again, thank you for the opportunity for public comments. I hope we'll have a great holiday and get to spend time with family and friends. So
Merry
thank you.
Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Okay. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
How long?
I'll reread it. Study session with Suzanne Watson, Executive Director, Western Iowa Services Collaborative, and Jamie Lorenz, General Assistance Caseworker 1, discussion on our planning for General Assistance Program. Ladies?
Hi. Well, I'm here in my official capacity of the Community Services Director. I just didn't feel like making Jeanette change that, So Jamie, so does everybody know Jamie Lorenz? Jamie has worked for the county for, I don't know how many years? 23, a long time. Used to work with the
23.
recorder's office, or treasurer's office, then came to us for community services several years ago. And recently, we kind of switched up the general assistance program with the change in the region to the disability access program. And Jamie's always done such a great job volunteering in the community, and just her interaction with people through the region that the service coordinators we're working with. We're like, hey, let's give this just a shot, Jamie, and see how it goes with general assistance. So she has done a great job. I will just put that out on record. And so when Jamie and I talked before she started in July, what I said was, hey, let's figure out how this feels to people when they walk in our door, because there was just some things that I didn't necessarily like how we were just giving people information and making them call all over the community for resources. And I didn't know if we were really treating people as well as we should. Because first of all, it's kind of embarrassing when you have to go somewhere to ask somebody for help with your rent. And so Jamie's really kind of taken that on, and we've really been assessing the program and seeing where we can make changes, seeing where we can make it a little more efficient, especially in our work with other like nonprofit agencies that provide some rental assistance in the community. Originally, I will tell you, I was hoping that perhaps we could just give our funds to another agency to manage. However, there are so few agencies now that are doing this, and their staffing is so minimal that we're having some issues with that piece. So we wanted to talk to you specifically before budget time gets here, and just make sure you understand kind of what we're seeing as far as needs for rent in the community. I think some of it you'll be very surprised by. I mean, you all know that it's getting tougher for, to pay rent in general for people, and we've seen an increase. So I wanted Jamie to be able to kind of give you some examples of what we're seeing and kind of what she's found so far and what people are asking for, and kind of the incomes that people are coming to us still with needs. And then to look kind of broadly at what, like, I guess, as a board, maybe to start giving it some thought about where you want to see the program go. Are we just containing right where we're at? I will say that since I took over the general assistance program 15, 20 years ago, we've really kind of kept it steady state. We haven't really increased the budget. It's pretty much stayed pretty much the same. So
Where is that?
300,000.
Yeah, and it's confusing now because I have both general assistance and the mental health advocate in the one budget. And so,
If I remember right, it's about 300,000.
yeah, it's no more than 216. Oh, no, wait. I forget. This one it's split up. It's about 300,000. We'll go with that, Tim.
Little what?
It's about 300,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. So I want to give Jamie, I guess, a chance just kind of tell you about who walks in our door and what people are asking for and what she's helping with.
So most of the phone calls I receive are looking for rental assistance. We do have the one-time assistance that we do up to $500 a month for rent or utilities. They do have to be current on their rent, so it has to be December rent. We can pay it December 31st or December 1st, but it has to be the month that we're in when they call. What we're seeing is a lot of people owe past due rent, and we're not talking just 1 month. Sometimes it's 3 and 4 months. So those people we are sending out to other agencies in hopes that they can help them get those back months paid, and then we can help with the current month. That's usually what that's usually how I try to direct them.
So they can help and then we help.
Yep, so we'll circle them back to other agencies and see if they can pay, or help pay down that back month's rent. And then, I tell them once they get that rent paid, call back, see if we're able to help at that time.
What are the other agencies?
So Interfaith Response is a huge agency that we help, that helps a lot. But again, it's just one time a calendar year, which is what we are also. And then Together Inc. is another agency that they're able to use. They do rental and utility assistance. And then Salvation Army is another agency that they can call. There are a couple other agencies, New Visions, they have different qualifications. They also help with different things. So each agency kind of helps with different things, but most of them have rent and utility assistance.
And the amounts, I'll just interject a little, the amounts that they are able to provide have kind of fluctuated and most of them have gone down. Except for Interfaith. I think theirs has stayed pretty good because theirs is more of just a strictly nonprofit. They're not relying on a large agency. Salvation Army, they might have it at the beginning of the month and very few funds. But it's very limited. Together Inc.'s kind of been
all over
the place too. So there's no like steady state of
Anything that serves the veterans directly or any that you refer the veterans to?
The veterans, we refer to VA directly. So in order for us to help the veterans, we have to have a denial from VA saying that they're not eligible for funds.
Is it percentages that are going down or is it actual dollars going down? Same dollars going down?
dollars, I think in general, just across the board for like homelessness programs.
Yeah.
Those funds that are, they're just changing
Mhm.
a bit. I think some of the agencies that were, some of the large community donors kind of have switched where they're giving monies to also. So it just has changed. At the same time, the rents have gone up. And then, of course, with COVID, everybody kind of moved their rents up because they had all these extra subsidies and they've never come back down. Even though the subsidies aren't there anymore, was kind of the trick to getting rents up. And then, so rents do need to come down. And I think we're hearing they might be coming down a little bit. But it really is a problem. Sorry, and I kind of interrupted where you were kind of going there.
So we collaborate a lot with the other agencies. There's several times where I know that I can't pay certain things that they're asking for, but another agency can. So we refer out those types of situations and then say, circle back to us once they're able to help. And that kind of helps keep some of our funds down too, because I know that some agencies can pay X amount of dollars towards this. And so if they can get that paid from them, then they could come back to me to get their water bill paid, say, where I'm not paying $500 out for the rent instead of paying $50 for their water bill. So using those other agencies to kind of bounce off of have helped us as well. But yeah, the need is high.
And we are an agency of last resort, of course, so they have to use the nonprofit funds before they use the government funds, which makes sense. I will say we have not spent that much this year, even though we see a lot of people walk through our door. Through the end of November, we've probably not even spent, I'd say, projecting through December, we'll still have probably close to 3/4 of our budget left for those line items, those big chunks of rent monies. So we've got the one-time assistance, and then we've got the interim assistance reimbursement also. You want to kind of explain that piece?
So the interim disability program is for those individuals that are applying for Social Security that we can pay for their rent and utility while they're going through that process. We do max out at $700 a month with those individuals. Right now, I have 4 individuals on that program. Their rent with utilities ranges anywhere from $500 to, I have a couple I'm paying the max $700. that program is where we're seeing the most. I see a lot of need there, but we're having a lot of trouble finding housing for those people. So I probably have 6 to 8 applications that have been approved for a program, but we can't find an apartment to get them into that takes the 700 with utilities. That's just not there.
Yeah.
So that was one thing Suzanne and I have talked about is, can we up that $700? Like maybe that's an option to look at and what that would look like or what that would be if we did something like that.
Yeah, we're also, we were just at a meeting last week with all the other kind of community stakeholders regarding the provide rent. Iowa West Foundation was there as well. We're really just trying to get everybody to work together so that people don't have to go from agency to agency. And, it shouldn't be that, if somebody goes into, let's say, interfaith, they should be able to collect enough information to give to Jamie that we would be able to make a decision based on what they collect the first time. So we're really trying to get to that one application for everybody so that they could say, oh yeah, you will be eligible for the general assistance program. Why don't you go down there? Right now, they send everybody our way. And it's like, even though we've told them like, no, these people don't qualify, don't send them, don't give them hope, like false hope that they're going to get assistance from us. So we are really working with the other community agencies, trying to come up with a way that we can make it smoother for everybody. That just is going to take some time. So
The last conversation we had, Suzanne, and I don't think you were part of this, Jamie, was that our community services budget is 300,000. We spend 300,000 to give away 100,000. Is that still where we're at? Our revenues for those programs are about 100,000.
well, it's costing us about $70,000 to run the program. And I mean, just those 2 programs alone, just for rent, and there are other things that we provide as well, as far as utilities, but
I look forward to seeing
60,
the budget.
60,
for next
120.
year. But
Yeah, it's about half is it takes to give out that money. And I don't know, so we've been doing a lot of research with other counties too, because and Jamie went to a general assistance kind of retreat last month with most of the other counties. And everybody is doing it differently. And, like, for example, some counties still pay for funeral expenses for people. We gave up the funeral expense thing when it came over to our department years ago because it was impossible to figure out what families have as far as being able to provide. And that was a big relief because that there, and then we put our focus more on, we were only doing the interim assistance for people getting on disability. And we added this one-time rent thing because we were getting the calls for, people just needing, we don't want people to become homeless, I guess. So that's why we've done the one-time rent a year, because we're trying to prevent people from homelessness or, losing their house. And Jamie has a wonderful story about how she intervened there with somebody actually it was going to go up on a tax sale. So we're just trying to make it work for what like today's needs are based on what the calls are that are coming in. And really it is that one-time assistance where we're spending those funds. We started a program about 10 years ago where we said, hey, if you put some volunteer work in, then we'll pay your rent for 3 months. And we just can't get people to bite on that. We did it because we wanted people to get the joy of working and realizing again that they could work and not rely necessarily on going on disability. We've had one taker with that this year? So it's just kind of all over the board, but we really do want to make the program fit what you guys, I guess, want it to be. We want to meet the needs, and I just think today with the cost of housing, I mean, that's where I think we're gonna see the biggest benefit is that we keep people from losing their homes and then not being able to find a new place to rent, so.
What's the name of that company in Harlan? not that company, that
They pay
they
back.
provide all kinds of services to people. Not-
That's Jamie.
It's not Woodco, is it?
Oh, West Central.
West Central
West
Development.
Central. Do you get funds from them? When you talked about, some of those other heating, benefits, if, they provide that,
They have a separate program for that. So we,
you threw them there.
we refer them to the LIHEAP program for the gas assistance, yes.
A lot of what Jamie does is making sure people are aware of where to go, because again, it is confusing to find all that. So a lot of what she does too is just directing people in the right area. The interim assistance reimbursement, in fact, we have everyone who comes in sign a payback agreement that when they have we had one girl that called, she's just like really down on her luck, was in a panic. She had no money for rent and it was just, I don't remember what her story was exactly, but she wanted to pay us back. She's gonna, pay it fully back. So a lot of times people do come in, even if it's with $5, they're very cognizant of wanting to and being appreciative of the funds. If they're in our IAR program, the interim assistance reimbursement program, and trying to get on disability, those funds. So when they apply for disability, and that's paperwork that Jamie gets saying, okay, we know that you've applied, we know that you have documentation from your doctor, you cannot work. From the date they apply for Social Security, they sign this reimbursement form. So once they are approved for disability, the first payback check, because they get money from the date they applied for Social Security, any amounts that we paid for their rent come back to us first. So that's why you will see on the revenue line items, we do get funds that come back. So even though we are spending the money, we do get a fair amount back in the program too, so.
The budget, your budget previously, Suzanne, gosh, if I remember correctly, the entire salary of the administrator of those services wasn't in that budget. It was shared with,
With the region.
okay, is that still happening or is
So
that
we're-
not happening?
No, so we're trying to incorporate Jamie a little bit in our disability access point. So she'll let me know if she has any free time. She's been helping me with some bill paying and organization and filing and anything that, it's rarely she has time for it, but she's great at saying, hey, I have some downtime, and she will help me get organized because Lord knows that's a piece I'm not great with. So we are trying to work her as much as we can into the disability access point as well. But I will say she doesn't have much, there's
Phone
not
rings a
much
lot.
free time. Phone rings a lot.
And we've been trying to get that answered when it called instead of
Yeah.
going to voicemail, so.
Before they always went to voicemail, before Jamie, it went to voicemail, and then the person would call them back on a Tuesday or a Thursday because they weren't available to do that job. So I think we're doing better service at this point for people. And there's just more people calling and more needs. In every county, I think Jamie had a great conversation with Story County. You want to tell them a little bit about what they're doing?
Yeah, so I talked to the director she does GA and VA for Story County. And they have a partnership collaboration. Is that what you want me to talk about?
Sure.
So they have a partnership collaboration with a couple other agencies in their area. And they have one application for 3 agencies. So the client would go to the general assistance website, fill out the application, and then it gets dispersed to the 3 agencies. So they're trying to streamline that for the applicant to make it easier, which is, like Suzanne said, we met last week with the housing committee, and that is one thing that we're really trying to push for, is to try to get the agencies and councils that have funds available to try to streamline that for everybody. Because it is a process for them to call and tell me their whole entire story, and then they're crying or they're upset or, and I'm like, I can't help you. I need you to call this person first, or I need to send you here. And then they call that place and they have to go through it all over again. And, there's so many questions we have to ask before we can get to the point of saying, I'm sorry, I can't help. And just those questions are working them up and giving, making them talk that over and over again. So.
Do we put that information to the non-government agencies? When they tell their story?
Not usually.
Okay,
Yeah, they tell me, and then I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help, but this agency may be able to. So
okay.
then we're just referring out instead of,
And it doesn't feel great to do that.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to get it to
Okay.
get everybody to work together better and share an application and cut down some of the administrative burden because obviously if Jamie's answering the phone once and then she's referring to 3 other people, they're also answering the phone. That's not efficient for any agency. So I think we're gonna get there as far as, it's just gonna take some time. It's not an overnight thing. And just with all the changes with the agencies just not having very many funds, originally I thought, oh yeah, we can back Jamie down to maybe 50% of her time and we can get her working on other things, but I just don't see a path for that quite yet. I think we'll get there, but I think we got to figure out a way to lift up those other agencies and help them like improve their processes and improve our processes as a community before we can.
I think just talking to Story County though, and knowing that that's how they do things and knowing that it's possible gives us a little bit more hope to say, maybe we can try to push it here in our community because we do have great resources here. It's just, we need to all use our resources to the best of our,
And Story County is the
utilize that.
only other county I've heard of that has that level of sharing. So everybody does it different. For example, Shelby County, they used to, I think, have maybe, I don't even want to say the amount, a fairly low amount of rent, and they ran out. Once they ran out, then it was done for the year. So we've never run out. We've always come in under budget. But that's what we know when we've been talking about, well, what should we do? Because people aren't able to find rent and yet we will get paid back. Should we increase that amount from 700 to like 900, or should we increase it more for the people that are coming in and we're helping with 500, but they're also relying on interfaith to chip in 400 to even make that work? Can we do better as agencies that, hey, we'll do this part if you guys do this part so people don't have to go both places? It's just not very well organized at this point. So.
What, Story County, what's the big town there?
Ames.
Okay,
So they have a little different dynamic.
yeah.
I mean, they probably don't have as many homeless people as we have.
They do not fund students though either. So
Yeah.
their need, they don't do any assistance for students in their county. Even though they are highly populated for students, they do not offer general
Okay.
assistance
That
to the
was
students
gonna
there.
be my next
Yeah,
question.
it is just primarily those needing assistance that are in the community.
Yeah, and when you look at the code, it's very general as far as it says the county needs to help the poor. It's very generalized. It says you can help the needy. So like we have very low, like 100% of poverty level is what we go with now for our one-time assistance. So for instance, family of 2, 100% of poverty right now is $21,000, $15,000 for a single individual. So they have to, when they come to us, first of all, that's a really low bar. Single person is only making $15,000 and they're asking us for 1 month of rent because their car just broke down. They can't pay their rent because they got to get to work. So, I mean,
When's the last time they raised that?
well, some of this is up to us. Most counties do go with the 100% federal poverty guideline. And that's another piece that we've been talking about. Do we raise that just a little? Because Jamie's been having a lot of conversations with people who the rents are terrible.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I told Suzanne, the poor know how to be poor and they're resourceful. They are very resourceful. They know the agencies to help. They know where to find help a lot of times. They're not afraid to go stand in pantry lines. They're not afraid to do those things to get help. Where we're seeing the need is just right over that poverty line for income. So I turn a lot of people away because they are over income. And we unfortunately just can't help them with that guideline being our.
But we need to have guidelines because you open the floodgates and then all of a sudden you can't, then you run out of money. And so we are really just trying to look for that balance of what's fair based on rates now. Where do you draw those lines of good budgeting practices versus something horrible just happened to me this month and I can't pay my rent. So it is just a balancing act of how you set those limits and find that sweet spot of feeling really good about helping the right people. So they can stay in their homes. And
So
it's complicated, I guess, is why we wanted to come to you today, because it's not just a easy, like, oh, let's do this, let's change this. It's way more complicated. So.
Well, the majority of the revenue, if not all of it, comes from the state or the feds.
From the feds, for Social Security, admin.
So we don't provide any revenue to you. All we do is, we levy for the $300,000 to run the office, right?
Well, no, we've only received back this year so far, $5,000 from the feds, but we haven't had many people in the program. I think we only had 4 or 5.
Yeah, we only have 4 in the.
In that interim assistance program. So any other payback, our biggest line item right now has been the one-time rent that we're helping people that are in a bad situation, just not.
Right, I understand that. What, if we go by, the theory or the hypothetical, whatever you want to say it, that your budget is, for expenditures for us is 300,000. What do you anticipate it to be for next fiscal year? 300?
Sure, we've not raised it. We've never raised
So
it.
you don't need any more money.
We don't need more money. That's not why we're trying to figure out how to balance it within what we are currently working with. And that if we do ever say, okay, we're going to increase it and we get to a point that, oops, we shouldn't have increased it that high and now we're out of money. Are we just done for the year? I mean, those are kind of some of the conversations that we're not anywhere close to hitting that this year. I don't think we will come close. But those are just some of the conversations Jamie and I have been having is how do you set those limits so that it's.
Are you allowed to carry this money over to the next fiscal year?
It stays in, it's your money, so it's in Fund 1 and 2. Yeah.
And you talked about Jordan's administrative salary, but it also is administrative work for the auditor's office.
Yeah,
And
true, in paying the rent.
Jamie, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
in paying the rent checks and stuff. Mhm.
Do you ever have issues with people not telling you the truth? I mean, they might be fiscal straight.
What day is this?
But how do you check the validity of what they're telling? I don't know if that even.
You can usually, as you're talking and asking questions, so I have a pre-screen that we go down through with them when I have them on the phone. And a lot of times you can tell by the time you get through a few questions, if they're really needing help or not. And if you are kind of on the fence about it, you just start asking different questions that aren't necessarily on the pre-screen, but that will get you the answer. Usually if they're calling us, they're needing help. I mean,
How long have you been doing this job?
This job I just took over in July for GA. So before I was 18 years in the treasurer's office.
Right.
On the front line, and then 5 years as the admin assistant for the region. So I've worked with the GA clients as the admin region. I was the first, welcoming site into the office, and I would give them their paperwork to fill out for Debbie and stuff. So I already had interaction with a lot of those people prior to coming on as the general assistance case manager or case worker. So
She's doing a great job.
So yeah, but it's easy usually you can tell who's.
Get a sixth sense.
Yeah, so.
And everybody thinks they're gonna get one over on you, don't
Yeah.
they?
So one cool story I did want Jamie to tell you about with her experience in working with in the treasurer's office that I would have had no clue how to do this, so tell them that little
So-
story quick.
We do have a story where it was all of the agencies in town were part of it. Family Housing Advisory, Interfaith, we were involved. And I think, and together were involved. Initially, the client had called me looking for some assistance on utility bills. She owed way more than I could help with. I referred her to Interfaith. They were able to help pay some. She wanted to get on the interim disability program because she's not able to work. She is sick. She owns her own home, owns it outright. But she had a tax sale. Therefore, that tax sale could have came up for sale in March of 25, or in 26, I'm sorry. So with knowing that too, I said to Suzanne, I don't know that we should put her in the interim disability program because we're going to be paying her utilities and she could still lose this house in March. So she circled back to Family Housing Advisory. They were able to get all of her utilities caught up between Together and them. They were able to get one utility that wasn't in her name switched to her name. And Together was able to come in and pay those county taxes for her.
But only because Jamie knew anything about county tax sales and that how to get, so she walked over.
So when she
To
said
the
she
office
owned her
herself.
own house, I said, how are taxes being paid if you don't have any income? And she said, well, so I was able to look that up online. I went and talked to Lee to make sure that they could accept a check from Together Inc. because that does usually have to be guaranteed funds also. So Lee was able to give me the paperwork that needed to be submitted with that check from Together, that we would be able to take those. So the tax sale has been paid off. Her utilities are up to date. And she's meeting with me on Monday to get in our interim disability program. So we will continue to pay her utilities until she gets approved for Social Security. And she's already applied back in March. So that collaboration and those partnerships with those agencies, they're very important for us. And we do talk, we do email back and forth, and we try to get our money spent where it can the best, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, every agency is wanting to be the payer of last resort and not spend as much as we need to. But that was an instance where general assistance hasn't paid anything yet. You know, now we're going to pay going forward in the interim, but we'll get that money back when she gets approved for Social Security. So we were able to use all those other resources to pay those for her.
And we saved a lady from losing her
And
house.
she's still in her home, which was like $140,000 home that she would have had lost, you know, and been homeless, you know. So,
Yeah.
so that's huge for her to be able to sustain in her own home and keep that and not be homeless. So. So the agency's working together. It's there, the need is there, the funding is there if we can just help each other out to get it. But,
Yeah.
you know, there are just some instances where, you know, the $500 might not help that person right at the time, but we can help it somewhere else.
Well, as far as Tim Wickman's concerned, anything I can do to help you, you can count me in. I'm not gonna, you need to come to us if you think you need to raise those limits to spend the money that was allotted to you. Then raise the limits and spend the money that was allotted to you. At least that's where I'm at.
Get your credit card out.
No, I'm not thinking more money.
Well, and that's the kind of guidance we're looking for because we don't, we want
Yeah.
to, we want your input on how, and we wanted you to know that backstory before we come to you and say, hey, we'd like to update our policy and increase the rents or increase something.
Well, your example of Story County, have you talked with Peggy Becker as far as doing VA and?
That's just how they're currently set up.
I know.
They've always been VAGA. So I don't want to lose Jamie out of my arm.
You know, I know during COVID, boy, it really turned on.
Yeah.
Helping everybody, you know, do you think that's the mentality still?
You just see it in a certain group of people that they're always gonna ask
Yeah.
for additional, they're
Yeah.
gonna go, they'll find their way, like she said, that people that have done this for a long time know how to do it, and so, yeah. And we're not against doing whatever, I mean, combining resources, agencies, using VA help to, I mean, however, we can look at it however. No matter what, it's gonna take the same amount of people right now to get this done because
we've just got a lot of coordination to happen in the community, so.
It seems to me like you're the organization to make this happen. I mean,
Well-
if you're applying for assistance, you know, do it one time and then spread the information, that kind of thing.
We are the full-time people that are doing it, you know, like to get our, interfaith, they're all volunteers. And so in order to make big community change, you gotta have people that are at work 40 hours a week and can have time to make the changes. So that's really what we're trying to take the lead there. So,
Really appreciate you coming in.
yeah.
Thank you.
So
Occasional.
we'll bring you something more when our budget comes. And I don't expect the budget itself will be increasing, but I think that helps explain like the administrative time it does take of Jamie's and what we've been able to do with that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, and if you guys come up or hear things in the community, please just come let us know. And if you hear of ideas or you're talking to other people come to you about something, let us know.
Really appreciate coming up, Jamie, Suzanne.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I.
And I promise I won't go